Still, McCaffrey, I'd like to pick up from where Mr. Adelman left. No matter how much we say that these elections were about domestic issues, all the focus was on the domestic issues. However, they were observed and monitored very closely around the world. A very prominent Pakistani politician, Scheherazade, said right after the elections that these results have left President Obama weak. Do you think these results have weakened him, at least in the eyes of the world?
Well, you know, it's a legitimate question. I'm in and out of Pakistan and Afghanistan and Iraq as part of the West Point faculty. Tried to follow the issue pretty closely. Part of the problem is domestic support for the war is weak. And I say that because it's, you know, at the height of the Iraq struggle, it was $12 billion a month. Right now we're running $8 or $9 billion a month in Afghanistan. 47,000 killed and wounded. So the domestic support for this policy was absent going into the election. I think coming out of it, the central issue is the consequences of U.S. unilateral withdrawal from Afghanistan are so painful, it's hard for me to imagine us turning our back on the region. The Pakistanis will say, you did it to us again. The Central Asian republics, the Iranians will view this as an abandonment of a situation we developed.
Sorry for the interruption, but didn't President Karzai himself said that he would be ready, his forces would be ready by 2014?
Well, you know, I've dealt with Karzai, and in many ways he's a remarkable man, a patriot. He's a kindly person. He governs a mechanism that barely holds sway outside of Kabul. And he's acting erratically, which is another huge problem for maintaining U.S. domestic support for this effort. So hard to imagine that the Afghan security forces, never mind a government which can deliver services to the people, is going to be operational anywhere in Afghanistan starting next summer. The one thing we do have going for us, however, is you had 150,000 troops there, 42 nations, largely the international community has been pretty responsible and supportive.
Let me bring you on in this one. Now, you cannot isolate the foreign policy issues entirely from the domestic issues, especially when now we have the Republican majority in the House of Representatives. Will the president, when confronted with the situation, try to make some concessions on the international front to get some of his agenda items achieved domestically?
Yeah, I think it's possible we'll see some cooperation, certainly on free trade. President Obama can benefit from support for the military if he wants to stay longer in either Afghanistan or Iraq. Ken mentioned Iran. This is one area I think we have to watch closely. The House of Representatives could get a little bit out in front of the administration when it comes to supporting opposition forces in Iran, and this could be a problem if there is any realistic possibility of talks between the U.S. and Iran. However, again, we've seen a shift from engagement to what the administration calls the pressure track on Iran, more sanctions, and given this, given the fact that we don't really have an engagement process going on that's working very well, I'm not sure what more the Republican-led House can do to interfere with that.
But the White House says that they're still very committed to a diplomatic solution. Do you think that Congress will approve that kind of a multilateral approach?
Well, I think that the problems are on both sides. We have 30-year-old habits of demonizing each other that are very difficult to break through. But right now, I think the main problem really is on the Iranian side. There's a lot of political division, even incoherence in that country after 17 months now after their disputed presidential elections. It's very difficult for President Ahmadinejad to pursue an agreement with the United States. The last time he got a tentative agreement, it was shot down by his political opponents from the right and the left. So we will see another attempt perhaps, but I think that it will be very difficult on the Iranian side, which basically takes the heat off President Obama. He doesn't have to worry about opposition from the House.
Well, let's continue this on, let's talk about the U.S. Position on the Middle East, specifically Republican position on the Middle East. U.S. will continue pushing for a two-state solution, won't it? And this is for all of you. Go ahead, Barbara.
Yes, absolutely. I think this is one area where President Obama actually has a little bit more freedom of action. He has started a process. It's already faced a lot of problems. It's currently now kind of, it seems in suspension, but there's a lot going on behind the scenes, a lot of talks. Chief Palestinian negotiator Saab Erekat has been in town. He is urging the United States to table its proposals for a Palestinian-Israeli settlement, and that is one way in which President Obama could go, and he would not be stopped by the Congress if he were able to get some traction, actually get an agreement. I think that would do wonders to resurrect his image abroad.